Welcome back to the Bishop Fox live stream from the RSA conference in San Francisco, California. I am Tom Eston, VP of Consulting and Cosmos at Bishop Fox.
And I'm Alan Cecil. I'm a Senior Security Consultant also at Bishop Fox.
And we are pleased to have our next very special guest, Ernie Bio, who is a Managing Director at ForgePoint. Welcome to the live stream.
Thanks for inviting me.
Really glad to have you here. So the first question I have to ask is that you are a former Air Force F-16 fighter pilot. Correct. So how did you get into cybersecurity with a career in the military?
How much time do you have?
We got 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's ironic how, serendipity in life works, but yeah. I'd left the flying business, if you will, went to grad school, found myself in strategy consulting, and then at an early stage startup. And during that process, I'd gone to a cybersecurity conference, and I remember seeing this guy, George Kurtz. This is in 2013, I think, when CrowdStrike was a Series B company, talking on stage. Yeah. I think Stuart McClure was on stage, right? So that was like the early days of both of those, and I got interested. And then I'd read Countdown to Zero Day from Catherine Zetter, and that like fascinated me. But that was all. It was interesting. And then I was asked through this chain of events if I would go back on active duty under Cyber Command. I was a Air Force reservist at the time, and I said no. I don't want to. I went into the private sector. Long story short, I went back on orders and found myself working for U.S. Cyber Command and essentially reporting to the 4-star, Admiral Rogers, who great commander, great guy, and through that I then embedded with the Defense Innovation Unit Experimental, which was something Secretary Carter set up for the Pentagon to get cutting-edge startup technology into the Pentagon for national security. So through that chain of events, I kind of got inculcated into the cybersecurity world, and that was in 2015.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you still fly planes? Casually?
Very occasionally, casually. Yes. Yeah.
And probably not nearly as fast.
Not nearly as fast.
No,
it's more just watching movies and reliving the glory days in my mind. Yeah.
Top Gun. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thinking back on your military experience and how that influenced your approach to cybersecurity, what lessons did that bring with you into your civilian career now?
Yeah, I think the biggest, I was at an event a few weeks ago, and General Nakasone, the head of Cyber Command in the NSA, the first thing he said is cybersecurity is national security. And, for some of us that sounds obvious. But, there's a lot to unpack there. And I think the way I think about that is it comes down to mission. So in the military, everything is mission-based. And there's a sense of mission amongst your peers, your colleagues. And I think it's the same in cybersecurity. Whether you're defending your enterprise, whether you're defending, a nonprofit, whatever the organization is, I think there's a sense of mission that's required. And I think that's the thing I took most from that my military experience.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. As an investor in cybersecurity, what are some of the early stage investments that you've made in the industry, and what made those companies stand out to you?
Yeah, so probably our sweet spot is Series A and B. So the first deal I ever worked on was Bishop Fox.
Oh, wow.
So that was a deal, it was like the first one kind of on the deal team. And not long, about a year after that, I led a Series A for a company called Huntress. And the interesting thing there is you have founders, military veterans that started a company, they were essentially nation state hackers for the NSA. And they kind of flipped that on its head. And how do we protect the 99% of organizations that aren't a JP Morgan, that aren't a big institution that has the sophistication and the budget? So that's been a great ride with those guys. and we had closed that Series A about 2 weeks before lockdown, so in COVID. So, but yeah, those are some that I've been involved in. Yeah.
Very cool. So thinking about like the various roles you've had in cybersecurity leadership positions, both private, public sectors, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that we face or cybersecurity leaders face today?
Wow, there's
Tough question.
Yeah, I mean, there's several. So there's obviously CISOs have kind of come into the radar of the board. So there's that piece that they have to deal with. There's budget constraints. There's consolidation of the security stacks, which they need to deal with, which kind of ties into the budget. But at the end of the day, you have to report to the board if there's some type of breach, if there's an incident. A lot of those are reportable to the board, and now you have regulation coming in that kind of further complicates and puts pressure on that security leader. And if you look at the latest cybersecurity strategy from the U.S. government, under Pillar 3, they're starting to talk about liability for those software providers. So that adds more complication and to the CISO's job as well as the companies building these software solutions. So that's the 30,000-foot view, but there's definitely a lot to unpack in that question.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So can you speak to the importance of public-private partnerships and the role that cybersecurity leaders play? In other words, how have you seen these partnerships work effectively or not?
Yeah, we've been talking about private-public partnerships for a long time, and I think go back 7-8 years ago, it was a lot of just, it sounded good to say that. I think it's becoming more and more real, and it gets back to that comment I made before where cybersecurity is national security. And you have organizations like CISA that have really taken an active role in trying to bridge that gap, not only between the software, the security providers, but also trying to help organizations with their Shields Up program, et cetera. So I really think that the way we defend, especially critical infrastructure, I think CISA names 16 or 18 critical infrastructure areas, and make no mistake, they're not under attack, but they're definitely under the purview of some of our enemies, which could probably do some damage at will at any time. So I think, especially with those critical infrastructure areas, you have to have the public-private partnership and work together. So hopefully that continues to evolve and mature, which I think it is.
Yeah. So one question I've been thinking about, because you mentioned CISOs, how do you see the role of the CISO changing from your purview?
So from my purview, and again, this is as an investor, kind of an outsider, I think they are taking a more prominent place at the table. The board is actually getting more visibility into the very difficult work that they do. I think over time, you're going to see the CISO having the clout that someone like a CIO or other executives have. I think it's taken time for that to happen, but cybersecurity it's kind of front and center. I think it's taken a little bit of a backstage to AI in the last few months, but at the end of the day, I just think it's becoming that important for these companies. So it's just going to be more elevated within the ranks.
So speaking of AI, do you think that's more hype than anything else right now, or do you see it as this is a game changer for cybersecurity?
Well, 3-ish years ago, we went through this phase where every security company had AI, under the hood, or they had company name .ai, and it was all a lot of marketing, just BS.
Sure.
Yeah, the same thing happened before that with saying, "Oh, we're on the blockchain."
Yeah, there you go. I think it's different this time. I'm not an AI expert, but like everyone else, I've been reading up on it. I've been listening to talks, and the way I look at it, and you know, I'll never forget the first time Vinny talked about Cosmos. This is like when it was still a PowerPoint. Was like, hey, this is an Iron Man suit for pen testers, right? There's always a human-machine teaming, and I think that's where AI is going to help. You look at what Microsoft put out with their Copilot. So I think it's real this time. How effective it's going to be, you know, how much does it give, in this case, security practitioners, the right questions, the right context, reduce false positives. We'll see, but I think it's for real, and I think cyber and AI are going to be combined, because when you think about the talent gap, like I gave a speech the other day, I go, it's never going to be fixed. The only way we fix that is with automation and AI. So anyway.
Yeah, no, great comments. So from one veteran to another, I want to thank you for your service.
Likewise.
And I thank you for coming on the live stream. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
I appreciate you guys inviting me, and enjoy the rest of RSA.
You as well.
Thanks.
And for all of you, we'll have more coming up here shortly on the Bishop Fox live stream from the RSA conference. So stay tuned.